Hello world, welcome to Abila. We're not in the right place, but we are so close. Over there is the Byzantine church and maybe the caves. We will have to go and find a different access point because the one that I found was wrong and I had to apologize to Ali. So we've walked through an olive grove and Abila has brought us to this Roman grave. My goodness. So what's there? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 10, 16, 18, 19, 20, 21, 20. About 23, and some that they've started to carve but haven't finished. Look at that. That is just amazing. And then there's this sarcophagus in the ground just there. Like Petra, just carved out of the rock. He says there's 2 entrances, so we'll go and have a look at the other entrance. Just looking at that, kind of looks like an alcove, so maybe it's part of a church or a worshipping area.
Careful.
Yeah, thank you. And then there's the graves that you could see on the other side. And look into this one, sarcophagus. 1, 2, 3, 4 sarcophagi. My goodness. That is fabulous. Same almost, okay. So we've just walked from that grave site just there where there was the 2 grave entrances, and Abila is saying that this one is another. And where's the other one? Down over there. But there's very low entrance. I've just been to the graves down at Abila, the Roman graves, and I was told that it was a walk through the olive groves, and it genuinely was. Oh, the soft soil. But it probably only took 5-10 minutes to get there. Fabulous. We've driven to another section of Abila, and this is the 6th century Byzantine church, and it has these pillars. I think it was about 614, something like that. And then at the front section here is the altar part, and on either side are the naves, those semicircular areas. And outside the church there's another like building structure, so we'll go and have a look at that. Just absolutely fabulous looking at the rocks and seeing the grooves carved into them. You can see where the walls so thick that it'd have to be like 2 foot thick. It's just fabulous. We're kind of like walking down the nave, the side of the church. There looks to be a rock here for a doorway. Oh, I just love how it's carved and it's worn. You can see where the door hinge would have been. Fabulous. So quiet. The site just goes on and on. just come here to the back of that Byzantine church site, and you've got all these squares, so they would all be rooms of some kind, but then I can see a sarcophagus down in one of those squares just there, so I'll just try and see if I can get down to have a closer look at that. So I've just come down here from that Byzantine church to where all those little squares are, and there's that sarcophagus. But these spaces, these rooms are just so tiny, the walls are so thick. So I'm wondering if they were storage areas, because they don't look large enough for rooms. But I'll cruise over and have a look at that. Maybe it's potentially a well. It's very central in that that square. I'm always interested to know what the rocks, what the stones were. These ones with the interesting carvings in them. You know, potentially it was something to do with water, or it could have been the doorway, and that circular area was where the hinge of the door was. Maybe this one here is a cornerstone of some kind. Just a fabulous site. I've just come a little higher up there. There's the Byzantine church, and there's Ali hiding behind that pillar. There he is. Wonderful. Looking at that central area that's all full of rocks, so maybe it was a well at some point. These over here looks like a doorway because you can see a groove in that stone just there. And there's a small stone, which I don't have a good angle to, has a very large groove in it. Just fabulous. So there was an earthquake probably around 1630 something. The columns have probably been replaced. They're not the exact originals. Just fabulous. So that group of square buildings is just down here. And then I'm walking up towards the Byzantine church. And what I noticed is, as I was walking up here, is these two amazing grooves in this kind of threshold, this door threshold. Just wonderful. So I've come from the Byzantine church over there with the two columns and the naves, come across here, and this looks to be a sarcophagus just wedged into the dirt there. Seems to be a bit of ornate carving just there on the end, like flowers or a wreath or something interlocking. When we first drove onto the site, I used that building over there, which is the Golden Olive Press, as my landmark to come on the road that came down here. And this is the area where we met Dafala, and he took us a little further along that olive grove, and then we stopped and walked down to some of those caves just there, which is where the Roman graves were. I don't know if I'm able to catch that eagle. That's just beautiful. Anyway. So somehow we're going to have to try and get our way down, because I can just see the tip just down there of some more columns. I'm going to have to try and find a way down there. Hallie left me. He's in the car parked up there somewhere, and then I've come down this really narrow, white, washed out road, and I've come across the first sections of this part of Abila. the Techopolis, one of the 10 cities. And looking at that and how straight that is, that looks to be a road, doesn't it? A road, and to stairs. And over here, also a road that winds down there. This is going to be fabulous to explore. And these look to be shops, buildings carved into the wall, and something pretty interesting over there with that arched doorway. I don't know if I can get access to that, but I can only try. As I say, once we initially came, that little building over there was where we met the guard. So walking over here a little bit, and then you can see this doorway here. That's really impressive. Some nice carvings. And that roadway kind of curved from there, came down around. I normally don't see much wildlife, but there's a little lizard just there. Even just walking on a road that's a Roman road that very, very few people would have walked on for centuries, except for the archaeologists and the local Bedouin. This is just the greatest privilege. This is just the greatest privilege. As I'm walking, I can see, but I can't find access to. There's a room there with an archway in it. I've tried to get it from the back, but I can't get it either. If I can maybe get a little bit of a view from over that other side. But I can't get up here. It's just too steep for me to go that little path to find what that archway is over there in that rock face. Yeah, there's a part of the archway that I was trying to get access to, but can't seem to be able to find how to. And it meets that curved wall just there. This is that round wall, and I was trying to find a way of getting in and having a look at that arch. It's a bit of an arrow slit or a venturi. Oh, look at that large rock at the base there. That tells me that it's probably a door lintel. That underneath there would be a doorway that hasn't been excavated yet. This is that doorway that I spotted from up there, and it has these grooves in it, which probably is the way the door kind of moves, maybe, on a hinge. Some, I don't know, these look like lock faces or something. The way the rocks are wedged next to each other. But what I noticed that I didn't notice before was this stone here. It has a wreath on it and a flower, 2 different flowers. That is just wonderful. I wonder if that's supposed to be over a doorway. Look at even the knot, the craft work and the artmanship in that knot. This stone next to it, whether it could have been started to be carved or pieces used off it for flint or something. And this marble here, you can see where, once again, somehow the door or maybe the wall was wedged into that groove in the marble. having these two holes in it would probably tell me that it was something like this is the halfway of the door, one would swing one way, and this is probably where the lock or the fixing point was to stop the door from being opened. This might not be a brilliant idea. Might have to go around the side, but let's see where these stairs lead. I've come up the little stairs just here. The room that I couldn't get into was over here. The Roman road is there, and the washed out road that I walked at was that one there. Eventually somehow I've got to get down over there to that church. But on the top of this hill I found some of the archaeological site. And when they come back in May, when Dr. David comes back in May, I guess June, this is where they'll be starting their work, I guess. I don't know if at the top of that rock you can actually see a lizard. He's so beautiful. Oh, there's a hexagonal. Where am I facing? A hexagonal. Something hexagonal. I might try and head over there next. So the road that I came down, and the kind of Roman road, and as I came across this hill, I noticed that cave up there, but it's just too difficult for me to get to. Once again, more to explore one day into these houses just here, and look at that marble pillar, that is just superb. Once again, I'm going to try and head to that hexagonal rock, which I think is that one just there, and then eventually I'll get down over the crest of that hill to those pillars just there. But when we started in that little building over there, and then the guard fellow took us over to that area over there where there were the graves in the hillside. If you just look past that group of sheep just there, there looks to be a curve. That would tell me that there was some kind of church in that space over there as well. Looking at the grooves in these rocks here, maybe where the wall or wood or something was partitioned. This is potentially a walkway. Oh look, there's a groove in that rock just there. Everywhere you turn. And this has a curve on it, a definite curve. Whether it was part of a building. Potentially, looking at the outline of it, potentially it was part of a building. But I was heading over towards this hexagonal shaped rock over here. Wow, that looks fascinating. Looking at these, they look to be maybe lintels. It looks to be flipped over. Could be a door. This one could be a lintel because it's so high off the ground, supported on those rocks, that it might have fallen from above over this doorway maybe. I don't know. It's interesting how those rocks are wedged just there, or just precariously perched on top of each other. On the back of that, one that I thought might be a lintel, I've come back here and you can see kind of like a leaf on either side, maybe. I'll try and see what it looks like from the other side. So looking down on that, I'd probably say it is a lintel, supposed to be over a door. That one kind of looks like half of a, wreath that they put on their head. It's kind of got an arch to it. And then that's that flower one again, with a bit of a leaf. Ooh. Poorly focused. A bit of a leaf here on the end. I'm just walking around the site trying to find the wildlife. Lizards everywhere. So I come down from the hill down there. I went up there and that's where the hexagonal rock was. I've come down here. I just thought I was passing these, but then I look over here and look that I find. Let's go and have an explore over there if I can get in. I am pretty close, but I just can't get down that little slope there. So I'll stay up here. I'll examine what I can see. Piles of different rocks. And then inside, a cave or a canyon, or maybe that's, anyway, the lodestone, I think it is. Keystone, up there just wedging these rocks to the side, so weathered. So after walking over this group of rocks just here, I've come across these archways and this tunnel just here. So when I go back, I'll walk along the road and see if I can get access up via there, because I'm almost at that next church. Okay, so I've walked along the road a little bit more and come to that area where I was just standing, just up there, and you can clearly see the magnificent stonework. Clearly a lot more excavation to be done. There's not much light in there, but you can just see some of the rock formation. This looks to be a junction point, because up there you can kind of see a large stone, which is probably part of a footpath or a lintel. And another one over this side. Look at that piece of artwork on it just there, that round section. Stairs, they look like modern stairs. Concrete stairs. On either side of this, there is almost like a matching pair. Yeah, matching pair. Something was here. A gate, a wall, a stopper, or something. It's my next stop over there. Coming up into the last church area. The black could be basalt. I guess this would be a nave. This would be a main altar area. This probably tells me there was large pieces of wood or something. The grooves there, part of a partition or a wall of some kind. The green here is actually moss, it's not grass. Peg holes in all of the rocks. Using the natural formation of the earth, using it as the back wall, kind of reinforced there. Like little naves cut into the wall. Niches. Lots of peg holes. Fairly much in a line, there's some symmetry to them. That looks a bit dangerous, I won't go too far there. Stairs. Fabulous.